Hi, my name's Sam. I just wanted to share an instance of something that happened for me recently of really recognising and experiencing the penetration of the explanation of the human condition presented by Jeremy Griffith. The context was I was just down the street and I was looking at this bloke, this was about my age, 50 years give or take, and it was clear from his body shape, if you like, that he was someone who regularly works out of the gym, and he had tattoos over his body and what have you. And but I think the thing that was really palpable from his demeanour and his body language was his state of mind of being utterly preoccupied, consumed, and living through the strongman persona that he had going, in terms of that was his source of validation and sense of self-worth. And notwithstanding that confidence, there was also this sort of anxiety and this restlessness and this insecurity. And for me, observing that was like looking in a mirror. I sort of actually said to myself, that is me. I know that state intimately. So much so that I actually sort of found myself grimacing and sort of wincing. That under the duress of the human condition, we really are living on a thread. I think that's a phrase Jeremy uses somewhere, and it, if you like, popped into my mind as just so encapsulating this state of living under the duress of the human condition from a psychological perspective. I think for me it just brought to mind there is this niggling awareness that we are frauds, that the strategies we use to sustain ourselves at one level are sort of quite pathetic and wafer thin. And that's, for me, is what living with the duress of the human condition is. And in that sense, I could see that in this other guy. It was easy, and I could see that in myself. But also what I was struck by was the point that Jeremy emphasises, which is just how astronomically resilient we have been to use what we've had at our disposal and not just collapse in the face of this truth, to sort of, if you like, get something going, get a strategy going, albeit, fraudulent and wafer thin and be extremely, if you like, in one level false in terms of as a representation of us being valid and fundamentally worthwhile. That word resilient, it just really brought it home for me. And then I think leading on from that, it sort of brought to mind just how it really is daunting to glimpse how desperate and hollow we are. And on from that, sort of how dead and sick we are. I'm talking about psychologically and emotionally, and also our ability to think truthfully about our own situation and many of the truths that exist. And not only the fact that are we sort of dead, but we're completely unaware of that state. And something I was saying to myself is to actually sort of take seriously and take stock of who I am. Like, who am I as a product of the human condition, and what are my circumstances now in the terms of the context of the human condition being explained and solved. And so there is this, if you like, the truth of my false, desperate and hollow state is a reality, and that doesn't change whether I'm embracing this information or not. That is a truth with a capital T, if you like. However, what makes a world of difference is how I choose to relate to this information, which, if you like, is just is revealing that and bringing to the surface that truth about my state and the human condition more generally. And the point being is how I relate to this information is actually a choice. And what I mean by that is that on one hand I can hold this information at arm's length because I'm choosing or I'm misperceiving it as confronting me or condemning me, or alternatively I want to preserve my fundamentally self-centered strategy to life, where I'm focused and preoccupied on validating myself through whatever strategy I've got going, like in that example I used. And and I sort of, if you like, use the term when I'm holding it at arm's length, that's me in a sense living on the outside of the truth. And then the alternative, which is now available, is to actually get on the inside of the truth. And by this I mean I can simply abandon that way of living where I am living through, consumed with, preoccupied with, validating myself through whatever that strategy is that's fundamentally living on a thread, is hollow, is is false, is pathetic at one level, it is wafer thin. I can simply abandon all of that and instead just embrace what this information says about me and the bigger story of what it says about me, rather than just focusing on particular aspects or the human condition as it's manifest in me. And that concept of embracing and celebrating the bigger picture here, the bigger truth, reality that's got up, notwithstanding the specifics of my situation. That's just an unbelievable, if you like, state of mind to take yourself to, and it is a choice, and that's a way. That's what I mean by there being a choice in terms of how I relate to this information. And from there, it's just a case of me trying to support this information as much as I can, because obviously I can recognise that it can produce that freedom in myself. It can ameliorate that self-centred state of mind, that false state of mind, that preoccupation, the denial of all these intrinsic truths that we live in denial of day to day. So, like I said, that's a choice in terms of how I relate to this information. So anyway, just off the back of, I suppose, a simple observation of the world and seeing, reflecting that into my own state and recognising that duress of the human condition like I talked about, and then from there how we can move beyond that situation psychologically, now that we've got the explanation of the human condition as presented by Jeremy Griffith. So hopefully you find that of some value, and look forward to your feedback. Thanks.